Okay, it's Monday morning. I've got to get running to the kennel to train all my dogs, and I'm just answering a few emails before I leave. And I got this email that's a whopper, and it's one that I get all the time, and I wanted to address this in a video. It's been something that's been sitting on my brain for a while. I'm going to title this video, Please Don't Buy That Dog, or at least know what the hell you're getting into, so that people will hopefully watch this and understand exactly how these problems arise. We're talking about dogs that are truly damaged, whether it's through neglect, abuse, a combination of both. And a lot of times people don't understand the implications that that can have on the life of that dog and on the relationship that they're going to have with that dog and what it spells out for them and that dog in their relationship for years to come. Now, I often talk about how dogs are resilient, how dogs can overcome, and that's the absolute truth. But once in a while, you come across a really hard story where we have to make a lot of, we have to take a lot of consideration into what environment would be a good fit for this dog and what should be our hopes, wishes, and expectations for a dog like this throughout the lifetime of the dog. So I'm just going to read little bits and snippets of this email for you, okay? Good morning, Nick. I had no idea what I put myself and my family into when I adopted a 12-month-old golden retriever from a breeder in a beautiful farm setting. So golden retriever, for anyone who's been around one, knows that they're bouncy, they're vibrant, you can have varying energy levels, but generally we're talking about a socially open dog, sometimes very pushy and bold as little puppies, which is lovely, and just a happy dog, right? We think golden, we think happy dog. Not the case here. The breeder decided not to show him anything to, this is in quotes now, keep him as a blank slate for his future owner. I don't agree with that. I don't think that's the right thing to do for any dog. They're learning all the time. We can start to teach basics. We can do things with the dog. At a minimum, we need to be exposing this dog and playing with the dog and just meeting the dog's basic day-to-day stimulation needs. But in any event, he didn't know any commands or even his name. That's not a problem. That's the name, the commands, we can teach that at any age. We can change the name 14 times. That's not a big deal. He had never been socialized. That's not a red flag. That's like a neutron bomb. Never been in a home, never been in a car, seen a cell phone, or heard any loud noises other than a tractor, or been around other humans and so on. So now we're talking about a damaged dog. Because by 12 months old, if you think that you can just take a dog, lock it in a closet, I don't care if that closet looks like a beautiful farm, it's essentially a closet, and that there's not going to be resulting damage, I don't know what to say to that. That is crazy. That's neglectful. That is abusive. That is going to have lasting implications on the lifetime of the dog. There's always going to be those dogs that have just a stronger nature, a stronger nerve that will have lived this and worse and come out vibrant and happy. Doesn't mean it's a good recipe to raise a dog. Moving on with the email, an experienced canine behaviorist determined our golden behaves like a dog who has been abused, most likely kicking, hit with fists, and possibly having doors slammed on him. Now that may well have happened, and maybe it didn't. Maybe it's just lack of exposure. Maybe the dog is twitchy because the only comfort zone is outdoors, in the paddocks, in the barn. I don't know what the situation was. It could literally come from just lack of exposure. I have seen that a ton of times. It could very well have been abused. It could be a combination of both. At the end of the day, we are where we are with that dog. So whether he was abused, whether he was neglected, the dog is terrified of basic day-to-day stuff. Does not know how to ask for the door, will not relieve himself on the property. So probably a dog that was just conditioned to go to the bathroom where he eats and sleeps, because if he's being neglected in one instance, you know damn well he's being neglected in another. And it could also very well be that the dog is just so nervous outside. He's so survival minded that he can't drop his guard enough to go to the bathroom. Going to the bathroom is not a pressing enough need as compared to surviving the threat of being outdoors in the world. So maybe he only feels comfortable to go to the bathroom in the house, where that's where he feels he can drop his guard a little bit more. Could be a combination of both. He has severe anxiety. Okay, that's a given based on what we're reading here, and separation anxiety. He has lost a tremendous amount of weight since we got him. This doesn't sound like the person who purchased the dog from the breeder, doesn't sound like a person who's not invested in the dog, doesn't sound like a person who's neglecting the dog. So why is the dog losing weight? Because he's stressed. Why is he stressed? Because he only has a comfort zone that's about this big and he's been taken from it. Again, when you neglect a dog and you teach them that their whole universe consists of living in this tiny little section of the universe, that's all they know and that's their comfort zone, there's the stress. He's now 16 months old. We've changed his nutrition. We're being as patient and loving as possible. That fully believe. He's slowly starting to feel better and to trust us. Now imagine, it's one thing if you're getting a rescue dog, and God bless people that get rescues. I've had them. I work with them all day long. We're anticipating in a lot of cases, not in all, but in a lot of cases, that there's going to be an acclimatization period where the dog has to get used to us. You're going and purchasing a dog from a breeder, and not because you're purchasing, not because cha-ching and let the money rain down, but just the concept of getting a dog from a breeder. But this is not, look, we can use the term breeder, but just because someone has a dog that impregnated another dog does not make them a breeder. A breeder really goes above and beyond to take care of their dogs emotionally, physically, to expose the dogs. There's a lot involved in raising a dog. Just like saying dog owner. This person, the original person who had this golden, is not a dog owner. They're just someone who kept it around and kept it alive. That's different than being a dog owner. So let's be careful how we use our terms. Okay, the rest goes on just to talk about the owner and their circumstances. So when I say, please don't buy that dog, what I'm really saying is, if you want that dog, by all means, it's a nice thing. If once that dog gets settled into that home and learns to feel good around those people, that dog's quality of life is going to improve a millionfold compared to where it was. So definitely go ahead and buy that dog and save that dog. That's a rescue mission. Just like all the other rescues I read about and work with, that dog is a rescue if I've ever heard of one. It doesn't matter that it comes from a breeder, okay? So if you want that and that's what's in your heart and that's what you want to give to a dog, that's wonderful, because that dog needs saving. But when I say please don't buy that dog, what I'm really saying is please don't buy that dog with the expectation of that dog ever resembling a normal dog. Now, maybe it will be able to down the line, maybe with patience and understanding and work. And that doesn't mean you just loving on your dog. That means you working with a very, very qualified trainer and you not setting timelines, right? When you set timelines, you're trying to control the uncontrollable. It's like me getting ready for a bike ride later today, and I'm setting dictations to the weather. I'm setting terms to the weather. I'm cycling west, so I want a strong tailwind from east to west. I want no rain. I want this. It would be lovely, but that's not how life works. So when you try to control timelines and you say, okay, by 2 months this, by 6 months that, we can kind of project those things in an optimal case scenario, meaning the right dog, the right owner, the right guidance, the practice, all that. We don't have that here. And then we have an owner who is further compromised by health issues, okay? So there's a lot going on. So when we get a dog like this, the expectation should just be that it's a dog. We're going to do what we can to improve things. We realize the dog has serious issues that are going to need serious behavioral intervention. And you take it on as a passion project. You take it on as a labor of love, and you understand that this is a very special needs case. And if you go into it with that, by all means, buy that dog, save that dog, enjoy that dog, give that dog the best goddamn life you can. But if you're going to buy that dog with the expectation of, we're just going to sail off into the sunset and my love and my compassion for animals is going to bring it around, you're going to be slapped in the face with reality before you know it. And to try and force a dog like that to look like all the dogs that you've had in the past, to what your vision of a dog looks like, is going to further compound the trauma that dog has lived, because you're trying to fit a circle into a square. One last detail: there's always going to be trainers who will tell you, we can fix anything, we can rehab, we can cure, we can any dog. That's not reality. You don't hear surgeons talk like that. You don't hear physiotherapists talk like that. You don't hear mechanics talk like that. And we can go on and on. I can just make that list ridiculously long, but I think you get the point. We have to leave room for individuality. And in this case, it's not just the individual dog, but then it's the owner, their ability to carry out whatever the program is set forth for that dog, the environmental impact. Let's say you live in an apartment or a condo and you have a very, very socially timid dog, and you just happen to have a neighbor who's a dog lover. And let's say your last dog was best buddies with your neighbor. And this neighbor, as much as they're a dog lover, they're a little inept, and I'm being polite, where they just put it on too thick for this dog. So now every time you want to go for a walk, the dog is hiding under the table, because the dog is like, oh no, Bob's going to be in the hallway and Bob mauls me every time he sees me. And Bob thinks he's helping your rescue dog. Bob thinks he's helping your timid dog, where really Bob is just developing that belief system in your dog a little bit further. So problems can get compounded in so many ways. This is very deep, very nuanced, very complex. So if you want to buy that dog and you know what you're getting into, you know the reality and the complications, absolutely get that dog. Enjoy the dog. Give the dog a nice life, but don't go into it with, we're just going to work on it. People work with their dogs all the time without knowing what they're doing. That's the equivalent of me working on my car. It's only going to get worse as time goes on. It takes knowledge and skill. And even then, we have to set realistic expectations. I get more emails like this than I can count in a week. Okay, it would be interesting to just, and then have a counter going up on the screen right now, because I get a ton of them. But let's be realistic about who this dog is and what a realistic expectation is of that dog. It's very important to understand this stuff. So I'm going to cut it off here because I really do have to run to work. But I hope this was helpful to those of you who have dogs that fit this profile, those of you that are considering getting a dog or might get a dog somewhere down the line. I am not trying to discourage anyone from taking on a hard case. I'm just trying to help you go into it with open eyes, so that you have a better understanding of what it might mean to own a dog like this, what it entails, what a realistic expectation is. And if we can surpass those expectations, and I want to be clear, very often we do. Very often we do. Fantastic. But to think that we're always going to knock it out of the park, sometimes trauma, whether it's trauma from something lived or just the way the dog views the world, by something not lived, by neglect, or sometimes just the way dogs are wired, just like the way sometimes people are wired and predisposed to be a certain way. Sometimes that's very deep and meaningful, and sometimes we can improve it by degrees, but we're not just going to sail right over the mountain into the sunset together. So this has been a quick one, but I wanted to get this off my chest before I left for work today, because I know it's going to be ruminating in my head all day and just pissing me off. Not at all about this owner and their dog, but just the fact that these things exist and that people are falling for this left and right, especially when they're getting the dog from I keep doing air quotes for breeder, because this is by no means a breeder. This is just a huckster out there selling neglected dogs. Okay. As I said, when we're getting a dog that's come from a checkered past, we go into it very likely with more open eyes. So This has been Conversations with a Dog Trainer. I'll talk to you again next time.